this evening on this debate where we are asking the question, Bofors is alive. Joining me this evening is Dr. Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Major General G.D. Bakshi, Defence Analyst, Ratan Sharda, RSS thinker, and author Aryama Sundaram, senior lawyer, Alimuddin Khan, political analyst, and Ghanshyam Tiwari, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. But it's to you first, Dr. Sambit Patra, that I address my question. Your government, the BJP government, has been in power for 3 years. This statement that is made by the Ministry of Defence that Bofors is still alive, for 3 years you haven't really done anything about it. Is it going to be one of those issues that are constantly going to be kept alive for you just because of vendetta politics that the Congress talks about, just because you need an issue to go after the Gandhi family? Is this one of those issues, or do you really seriously feel that this is something that people of this country need to know?
Now, I firmly believe that this is something which the people of this country need to know. And let's remember what's the premise of this debate. The premise of this debate is criminality can never be cremated unless it reaches a logical conclusion. And over here, what should have been the logical conclusion? The logical conclusion should have been that the CBI should have appealed to a higher court, that is the Supreme Court, after the Delhi High Court in fact quashed the charge sheet of the CBI. It should have moved the Supreme Court, which in fact the UPA dispensation did not allow. And only when the Supreme Court would have agreed to the fact that you can close the case, only then could have CBI moved ahead for a complete closure. Over here, the CBI could not move the Supreme Court. In fact, individual SLP is lying in front of the Supreme Court. Mr. Ajay Agarwal was just interviewed by you, and so the case is open still now. It's not that the Bharatiya Janata Party has opened it. Secondly, and very important, coming technically to this case, it's not that the Bharatiya Janata Party started the case. You rightly pointed out, and in fact the media reports also exist over here, that subcommittee on the PAC, the Public Account Committee, this subcommittee was looking into the non-compliance of the CAG report of 1986. And in fact, it was a mandate of the subcommittee to look into it. And as per the mandate, the subcommittee found there was non-compliance. So naturally, if there was non-compliance, the committee had the mandate, and let me tell you, the committee was headed by a non-BJP MP. The non-BJP MP being a BJD member, Mr. Bhartuhari Mahtab from Odisha. So naturally, it is not that the Bharatiya Janata Party opened it. It is because in due course, criminality was in fact kept under the carpet.
Dr. Sambit Patra, are you missing out a minor detail? The minor detail being that this subcommittee is a 6-member subcommittee. 3 members from the BJP, 1 from the BJT, 1 from AIADMK, and 1 from the Shiv Sena. There's absolutely no Congress. So obviously, the entire block of people who are friendly to the BJP are involved in this. The AIADMK, in just the presidential elections that have concluded today, has voted with you. The BJT has voted with you. So all right-minded people together have decided to reopen the Bofors scandal. Why then do you not agree with the charge that the Congress party makes against you, that this is vendetta politics?
No, let me draw a parallel for all those people who are crying that this is vendetta politics. That the constitution of the country says that if there are any kind of fresh evidences, naturally the case can proceed ahead. What about the Babri Masjid case? Only recently we saw, after all these years, in fact, the Babri Masjid case was reopened, and because of fresh evidences or the claims that fresh evidences may crop up, we see new cases coming up in the Supreme Court. So naturally, in this case also, the same premise is to be followed. If there are new evidences, the case is not even closed right now. The SLP is in front of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is yet to deliver the judgment. So how can we say that the case has been closed? And secondly, and very importantly, remember, the CBI, after the Delhi High Court squashing the charge sheet, in fact went ahead to appeal to the DOPT under which the CBI falls, that this is a fit case, so that a higher court appeal should be made to the Supreme Court. But the UPA dispensation did not allow this higher court appeal, did not allow the CBI to appeal to the Supreme Court. Why logical conclusion should not be seen in this case is my prime question. And secondly, and very importantly, coming to the Bofors case, the Congress party has led a story of cover-up as far as the Bofors case is concerned. There are umpteen number of examples. For instance, the defreezing of the 2 accounts of Mr. Quattrochi in London, while the Supreme Court had said that his account is to be freezed. What in fact pushed the Congress party and the law ministry to send Mr. Bhatt, the additional
Ghanshyam Tiwari wants to respond to you. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, if the cases against Mr. L.K. Advani dating back to 1992 can be revived, then why not the Bofors case? Do you also feel that this is vendetta politics, or do you really think that a case that has not been settled, questions of the Comptroller and Auditor General not being answered to properly, and the fact that the CBI was not given permission by the DOPT, the Department of Personnel and Training, which was in charge of the CBI at that time, has not given permission to the CBI to reopen this case in the Supreme Court, all show in one direction that the Congress wanted this case dead, and they used their tenure of 10 years in the UPA government to do just that.
Well, let's do a like comparison, right? The Babri Masjid case is different from a defense deal. Let's compare a defense deal versus defense deal. Sambit Patra and I maybe grew up on the news around Bofors scandal. I'm asking Sambit Patra a direct question which Dr. Subramaniam Swamy asked, that A.K. Antony, former defense minister, asking, by the way, there's no defense minister that India has today. But the question they asked is Rafale deal with France a Bofors in the making? Sambit Patra, this digital record would live our lifetimes. Can you tell on TV that Rafale deal that your government did is not a scam? And is it not a Bofors in making? Because Subramaniam Swamy said...
You are talking about a case in the making. We are talking about a case that was there in 1989 for which Rajiv Gandhi lost his government. The entire VP Singh experiment was based on the Bofors case allegations.
That A.K. Antony, former defense minister, asked. And
no, let me answer him. No issues. Let me answer him, Navika. Mr. Ghanshyam, I'm answering you. Mr. Ghanshyam, I'm answering you. Hear me. Yeah, I'll answer you. Mr. Ghanshyam, if you claim that you have evidences to the fact that the Rafale case is a big scam which is going to tumble out of the cupboard, so it is illegal to hold back these evidences and not to present these evidences in front of court of law. Please proceed to court of law which is nearest to you, and please submit the evidences that you have with you to present that Rafale case in fact is a scam in making. So please don't just come up with rhetorics over here and try to be a Congress spokesperson in the absence of a Congress spokesperson. Please speak on the issue in hand right now over here, and that is Bofors.
That Swamy to move court if Rafale deal is finalized. He said that he would take legal recourse if the deal was finalized. What is stopping Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who's a most
if you have the evidence, please move, sir.
Of India,
we would welcome you.
Filing this. No, I am borrowing the quotation of your own Rajya Sabha MP. Why don't you ask this question?
No, if you have the evidence as you are claiming it,
nothing has stopped.
Please move. The issue is, why are you trying to skirt the Bofors case?
Do you have an answer?
No, why are you trying to? No, why are you trying to buy a corruption case which belongs to the Congress party? I'm not able to understand the attitude of the opposition parties nowadays, Navika. You have a sin committed by the Congress. Here is Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, the Samajwadi Party spokesperson, ready to borrow the sin of Congress party. This is irony.
Well, we are getting questions on involved.in. Viewers are asking questions. Ghanshyam Tiwari, look at what people are saying. People are saying if files are missing, it means something was definitely fishy. There should have been an investigation. Leonard Daranjo says political opportunism has been the biggest obstacle in finding out what's the real truth in these matters. In fact, Nagraj says central government is in a fix. If investigated, it's called vendetta. If it's not investigated, it's called an incompetent government. Aage kuan piche khai. Government kare to kya kare, Ratan Sharda ji?
मैं बड़ी मज़ेदार बात बताऊं घनश्याम तिवारी जी को. ऑन 18 अगस्त 2016 मिस्टर मुलायम सिंह यादव सेड had deliberately slowed down the Bofors case. मैंने फाइल गायब करवा दी. This is the word used by Mr. Mulayam Singh. that means he's also part of this whole racket of Bofors guns because he helped the evidence to be buried. If this is the kind of approach that political leadership have, how does a case get solved? Forget about the law and legal issues. Ghanshyam, your habit of speaking continuously.
We are a country where
I'll listen to your diarrhea, please.
Wars without a defense minister.
Please let me make some point. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, you have become agent of Congress, but at least let me speak. Let me speak. तो मैंने बता दिया ना मुलायम सिंह ने क्या कहा, रिकॉर्ड पे है, आप उससे पीछे हट सकते हैं, रिकॉर्ड पे है ये कि उन्होंने कहा मैंने फाइल गायब करवा दी 1990 के आसपास जब मैं डिफेंस मिनिस्टर था. आपको लज्जा आनी चाहिए बात उठाते हुए, आप स्माइल कर रहे हैं. I am asking a serious question. You are not serious. You should be ashamed.
आप चुटकुला सुनाने वाले हैं.
That you are part of the witness. You are part of the witness. Now let me tell you something more serious. My issue is not technicality of the law, and my problem is not technicality of whether Bofors should be alive or dead. My problem is because of Bofors, all the purchases stopped. Mr. Clean, Mr. Anthony did not buy anything for 10 years. Our military is without defense. They don't have bombs, they don't have guns, they don't have planes, they don't have tanks. This is the kind of army which you want to fight the enemy with. You expose the whole army in the guise of stopping, blacklisting people. That is the biggest loss. I am not worried about 64 crores, how it went to Kotraki family, through them to the Sonia Gandhi family, all that is okay. That can be resolved through the law. But imagine the damage that they have done to the country by letting Kotraki go. They defroze the accounts of Kotraki in London, 2006. His accounts were declared in 2003. He was allowed to go scot-free in Malaysia. He was allowed to go out of Argentina in spite of being on the notice and arrested by Argentine government. What else do you want to show that the case was horribly messed up? And these people who fought against Congress for so many years today talking like agents of Congress? The one that damaged the whole military empire are the people today saying that this is time bar and all that. What is the question of time bar? It is highly embarrassing and very sad for us that a country's security forces have not been able to get enough arms and ammunition, and we are talking of defending the country
made.
just
Mr.
because
Arima
one case of corruption which was messed up by Congress deliberately.
Let me take you through some more details of this case. Whenever there has been some evidence that's been coming forth, Mr. Arima Sundaram, the Congress party has always been in the forefront in trying to deny taking any of those details by the government. In fact, Sten Lindström, the former head of the Swedish police who led the investigations into the Bofors India howitzer deal, said that there was a massive cover-up which Rajiv Gandhi sat and watched in India and Sweden and did nothing. The evidence against Ottavio Kotraki was conclusive. Through a front company called AE Services, bribes paid by Bofors landed in Kotraki's account. These accounts had been frozen. These frozen accounts were defrozen by the Congress government in UPA tenure in 2005 December. My question to you simply is, whenever the Swedish agencies have offered any evidence in this case, hasn't the Congress tried to do away with the investigation, try to delink the investigation, try to cover up the investigation? And when it came to the CBI seeking permission for a reopening of the case in the Supreme Court, once again, it was the Congress government in power which did not give the permissions. So isn't this a massive cover-up which needs a closure at this point in time, and the government should do a quick investigation into it, Mr. Arima Sundaram?
Navika, without a doubt, this is a classic case study. I always call the Bofors case an absolute classics case study. A large proportion of today's population, the youth of today, were not even born when the Bofors issue started. And yet the Bofors name continues and continues because it is the greatest example of how an investigation can go on for 31 years and get nowhere because the forces, the powers that be, are not allowing it to get anywhere. What is equally disheartening is the fact that our criminal agencies, our Bureau of Investigation, is unable to do anything when blocked by the powers that be, and one begins to understand why we have all been demanding an independence of these agencies. The fact is 31 years has gone by The youth of today were not even born when Bofors arose, but they all know about the Bofors name. Why? It is your typical example of how an investigation can be stalled without allowed to be moved and just continue as a status quo depending on who's in power at any given time. It's revived when one party is in power, it is stifled when another is not, and another is in power. The lesson we learn from all this is that whether we like to think otherwise or not, the powers that be still control investigation, are still able to hush up and quiet a probe, are still able to block any kind of probe. I believe today, if we are serious about it, we should give a time-bound 3 months, and a time-bound 3 months with all cooperation from all quarters, and allow the CBI to complete an inquiry and give a report and decide what is to be done further in the matter. But otherwise, it is nothing but political jockeying and nothing but a political game, and which will continue for the next 10, 20 years, and probably the next generation will hear about something called Bofors. And
well, Mr. Alimuddin Khan, it's not just Lindstorm. It was also our own Army Chief who said in his tenure, General K. Sundarji, who wrote on multiple occasions to the Prime Minister's office asserting that Sweden be compelled to reveal the names of middlemen, but his suggestion was completely overruled. Mr. Alimuddin Khan, for how long have you been in business only to overrule the entire investigation into Bofors? And now, just because the Bofors case, the Defense Ministry says that it is being investigated, and this RTI application says the case is still open, the Supreme Court still hearing a public interest litigation, will the Congress once again call this also a political vendetta? Is that the only explanation you have? Why should the Bofors case not be investigated right till its final conclusion, Mr. Alimuddin Khan? Mr. Alimuddin Khan, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, we'll go across to General G.D. Bakshi. General G.D. Bakshi, it's been something that's been brought up by K. Sundarji, the former army chief. Why did the Congress party at every stage stall investigations into the Bofors case? And we all know how Ottavio Kotroki was got out of this country, how his bank accounts were defrozen despite the fact that for 20 years there was a freeze on them.
Look, Navika, the bane of the arms acquisition process for our armed forces has been this stink of corruption. The simple fact is that all our arms deal have been slowed to a crawl, especially in the last 10 years of the UPA. You know, we were told that they are now, doing everything, going over everything with a fine-tooth comb to see that there is no corruption. And at the end of the day, with each case, whether it is the VVIP chopper scam or the other spate of scandals, we've had these cases of scams which are unending. Now they are unending because nobody has been taken to task. And before you is the example of the Bofors, where this case has been hanging fire for 30 years. And for 30 years, do you know that the Indian Army has been denied a medium gun? There was nothing wrong with the Bofors gun. It performed brilliantly in the Kargil war. But because of these scams, because of this bribe taking, the acquisition process of the Indian Army were put on lock jam. Do you realize the damage that has been done to the country? The medium guns are a critical war winning factor. If you learn the lessons of the 1965 war, one of the prime lessons is that Pakistan had 155mm guns and we did not. And it had a serious impact in the Cham sector, in the Sialkot sector. Tomorrow, if we have to fight the Chinese or we have to fight on the line of control, we will be seriously hobbled by the absence of the medium guns. Who is responsible? Who will be held responsible? Who will be made accountable? Every time there is a scam in the defense acquisition process, you look to the lowest part of the food chain and you take action against some armed forces officer who is the easiest and the most obvious victim that he is made of. And whereas the real culprits in the food chain of corruption, the political netas, the bureaucrats get away scot-free. They are Teflon coated because they have been fighting this case and making sure that nothing happens for 30 years. This is the 31st year. You have let Ottavio Quattrochi fly away. He is now gone to heaven or hell or wherever. You know, you unfroze his accounts. You did everything possible to see that nobody would be brought to book. You know, the bribe givers were taken over the coals. What about the bribe takers? When will they be brought to book? When will this entire rot stop? This entire rot will stop only once you take action, deterrent action in a few critical cases. And the Bofors is one of them. The whole tamasha started with the Bofors.
Well, Ghanshyam Tiwari, it was on August 17, 2016 that Mulayam Singh Yadav says that he was the one who took a call on somehow slowing down the investigations in the Bofors case. He also said that the Bofors were the best guns. Well, it's not the quality of the guns that is being debated, but the fact that there were kickbacks paid. And as Ajay Agarwal, the petitioner, says, it's not just about the 64 crore kickbacks. The kickbacks could have amounted to much more than that. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, was Mulayam Singh Yadav also responsible and guilty of the fact that he was participant in actually blocking the investigations into this 3-decade-old investigation?
Well, it's a 31-year-old case, and every successive government, be it Mr. Mulayam Singh or be it Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Sambit Patra can answer for that as well. Every successive government has played its role, and I agree with General G.D. Bakshi that every time there's a major scam that breaks out, a big question that is raised, that has to be conclusively answered, and the people who are in part of this commission, from top to down, top to bottom, have to be charged and prosecuted. And that is why I asked Dr. Sambit Patra that what is Dr. Subramanian Swamy talking about? He is the most prolific law machinery user in the country. What is stopping him from asking the right question on Rafale deal? And what is stopping Dr. Sambit Patra to rather question me, answer that there is nothing wrong in that deal either? Is that a Bofors in making? So be it Rafale or be it Bofors, I see it from the same eye, that there are accusations and conclusive action has not been taken.
Let me ask Dr. Sambit Patra. Dr. Sambit Patra, you know, is Bofors a convenient tool for the BJP? Because in the run-up to elections in 2013, Mr. Arun Jaitley told Rajya Sabha that the AgustaWestland deal is a Bofors-like case. When the bribe giver has been caught, why can't the bribe taker be identified? This was said in 2013. In April 2012, Ravi Shankar Prasad, who is now the Union Law Minister, he said that the Congress is worried about taking the name of Ottavio Quattrochi. He said Mrs. Gandhi should explain why the Congress has a problem in mentioning the name of Quattrochi. Those are the statements that came in from persons who are now Union Law Minister and Union Defence Minister. What stops the BJP from investigating this entire matter, Dr. Sambit Patra?
Nothing stops us, and that's the reason as to why we are debating the issue today after 30 years. Otherwise, if we really wanted to throw the issue under the carpet, we would not have been debating the issue, and the parliamentary committee, as alleged by the opposition, consisting of Bharatiya Janata Party members, 3 of them being Bharatiya Janata Party members, would have taken a contrary stand. That means our intention is absolutely clear. But most importantly, Navika, a very important point that we are missing over here is, remember, Navika, the rot was so deep that in fact the External Affairs Minister of India, Mr. Madhav Singh Solanki, in 1992 went with a memorandum and submitted memorandum to the Swiss authorities saying that please don't cooperate with Indian authorities. The rot was that deep. You have our own External Affairs Minister, rather than saying that please cooperate with India to see to it as to how the bribe takers are punished, the minister goes ahead handing a memorandum saying that please don't cooperate with the Indian authorities. Now, for the sake of the viewers who are watching it, since Mr. Ariman Sundaram was absolutely right, most of the people, those who are born after Bofors in this 30 years, though they know what Bofors is, they must be not aware of what the facts are. So the 7 sins of Bofors that were committed by the Congress party, very quickly I will read out those 7 sins. Sin number 1, despite the fact that in 1987 the Bofors case was out in Sweden, but there was no FIR filed in India because the Congress government was in existence. Sin number 2, delay in sending letter rogatories. Sin number 3, not appealing against the judgment of Delhi High Court in 2004. Sin number 4, defreezing of Quattrochi's bank account in London by saying to the Crown prosecutor that there is no case against Quattrochi. And remember, Mr. B. Datta, the ASG, had been sent by Mr. H.R. Bharadwaj, the then law minister, to London, in fact, to take up this charge. I don't understand even how the law minister could do this. Sin number 5, putting up a very weak case for Quattrochi's extradition from Argentina. Subsequently, no appeal against the lower court's verdict in Argentina. Sin number 6, the withdrawal of the Interpol red corner notice against Mr. Quattrochi. And the final sin was to withdraw its case against Quattrochi, reacting to which even the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate, Mr. Vinod Yadav, had said, I agree that there are certain malafied intentions in the case and there is no doubt in it. That's what the question is. There were malafied intentions, and that's what this the subcommittee is trying to find. What were the malafied intentions?
Why does
what was the
Bihari
non-compliance, and how best it can be corrected?
Why are you not asking the question? What did the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government did?
You are not prepared.
Why
you have not done your homework. Let me tell you. Let me answer you.
You are blinded by the political mileage you can get.
Let me tell you. You have not done your homework. How does Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government crop up in this? Let me tell you. Let me tell you, sir, you have not come prepared for this case, so probably you have not done your homework. Let me tell you what was done during the Atal Bihari Vajpayee days. The first sin, delay in logic. Let me answer that.
What are you talking about?
Let me answer. Oh my God, it is not on Rafale deal, sir. If you have any evidence against Rafale deal, go and file a case.
It's 59,000 crores.
Please come back to the Bofors
in the making. Why don't you answer that question?
Why are you so obsessed with the Rafale deal, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari? Why don't you file an FIR if you see any irregularities in that deal? Why are you derailing the debate on Bofors on the issue of Rafale deal when you filed no FIR? You've not brought up the issue in Parliament. You have so many forums available to you.
Well, it is their member of Parliament who spoke.
Why are you a member of Parliament? Why is Naresh Agarwal not bringing up the Rafale case? Why is he in hands and gloves with the BJP government?
No, but why?
That Mr. Naresh Agarwal, Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav are not bringing up the Rafale case in the floor of the Parliament.
About saying the
that their spokesperson has evidences against Rafale deal, and we don't see Mulayam Singh Yadav and Naresh Agarwal. Naresh Agarwal has all the time to abuse the Indian gods and goddesses, Hindu gods and goddesses, but he has no time to speak about Rafale deal. So please stop your rhetoric and let me answer. This is the real logic, sir. Don't try to be the Congress spokesperson and don't try to buy the sin of Congress. Please, it is better to be quiet rather than to show your ignorance over here. If you are quiet, people will think probably you are intelligent. If you are quiet, people may think probably you are intelligent in silence. But the issue is, the moment you start opening your mouth, people realize how ignorant and how unprepared you are. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, Mr. Ghanshyam, while you were speaking, I never interjected. You have asked me a question. Let's have the decency and allow me to answer the question.
Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, may I remind you of the slogans that Mulayam Singh Yadav and Nitish Kumar in the good old days, what are the slogans that they shouted? Let me read out the slogans. गली गली में शोर है, राजीव गांधी चोर है, वो जो उनके गालों पे लाली है वो बोफोर्स की दलाली है. ये सारे जुमले आप भूल गए. ये तो सब आपके लीडर्स के जुमले होते थे. बाद में आपने उसकी फाइल इन्वेस्टिगेशन स्लो करवा दी. मुलायम सिंह पहले गली गली में शोर कहते थे, बाद में मैंने फाइल रुकवा दी. Is that politics of convenience?
Is not used to take away corruption from the institution of defense procurement? That is the question.
Can I answer his question?
Can I please come in?
See, as to what happened in Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's days, let me tell you, though this whole case was blown up in 1987, though the truth came out in 1987, no FIR was in fact registered, as I mentioned. Thereafter, once the Congress government fell in 1989 and the National Front government came, led by VP Singh, which had the support of the Bharatiya Janata Party, for the first time, in fact, the FIR was lodged and the CBI was allowed to take over the case. And during the Atal Bihari Vajpayee regime in 1990, during the Atal Bihari Vajpayee's regime, in fact, for the first time, the charge sheet was filed against Mr. Vin Chadda, the charge sheet was filed against Mr. Bhatnagar, the charge sheet was filed against Mr. Quattrochi and against Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. So naturally, that which the Congress government was trying to scuttle for all these years, for the first time it was taken up under Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's regime. So please don't try to divert attention from the real issues and run helter skelter. Samajwadi Party spokesperson.
General G.D. Bakshi, before I go across to Mr. Ratan Chadha, General G.D. Bakshi, people are extremely charged up, and the questions that we are getting on involve.in from our viewers, people are saying, and K.R. Prithviraj is clearly saying, that the Congress wants this case buried. But what about the other political parties like the Samajwadi Party, like the Communists, who had often talked about the fact that the entire truth should be brought out? Why are they silent today? Why should they not demand a complete investigation into this entire case, General G.D. Bakshi? Or is it politics of convenience? Because now Modi is the common enemy for the entire opposition brigade. They want to stick together for any reason at all, and Bofors is something which they did their entire politics in the early 90s on, should be buried under the carpet now?
You know, it is politics of convenience, Navika. The fact is that not one of the scandals in the defense procurement process have been brought to closure. Starting with the Bofors scandal that is 31 years old today. If you do not bring such cases to closure, you send a clear message to the bureaucrats, to the political honchos and their agents, that it is all wink, wink, nod, nod, and nothing will happen to you. So carry on with the, dipping your hand in the till and making a fat profit after every deal. To hell with whether the armed forces get their weapons or not get their weapons. After all, if it comes to a war, who will die? The armed forces.
Yeah,
so
and it doesn't matter to these politicians. It doesn't matter to these politicians. Mr. Ratan Chadha, on 20th October 1993, the CBI for the first time put up a proposal for issuing a letter rogatory to the Liechtenstein government for help in the Bofors probe. At that time, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao negated that request. Then Joginder Singh joined the CBI director in 1996. Eventually, it was a Janata Dal government backed by the Congress from the outside which took over. Only one witness, one deputy secretary of the defense ministry was examined. So we've seen right from the beginning, somehow or the other, the Congress party has manipulated either itself or through its own alliance partners the entire investigation in the Bofors case.
Navika is as clear as daylight. I have been from the generation who has seen the explosion of Bofors scandal. I was there when VP Singh made all the drama about fighting corruption and came out against Rajiv Gandhi with submarine deals and Bofors deals, and how this case would be definitely scuttled, because the whole idea of Congress supporting minority government during that time was to somehow scuttle the probe. And even now, if you see the way they messed up the whole case, smudged up the whole case in Malaysia, in Argentina, in London, it's very clear. The most painful part for me today is, apart from which I talked earlier about no armament being purchased, etc., and our army being totally exposed. I'm amazed at the way the left and the so-called secular and communists today on your own channel have come out to defend Congress. I mean, under the farce of secularism, they put nation security at stake. They feel corruption is not anymore a serious issue. Ask people what is more serious of people. For people, it's the day-to-day corruption issue, the national level corruption issues. That is the reason they are supporting Modi. Here you are in the garb of secularism. People come here on your channel, whether it's a Communist Party or a Samajwadi Party or anybody, and trying to defend Congress on their behalf.
No,
is this farce of politics?
Mr. Sundaram.
makes you illogically
Ghanshyam Tiwari,
support-
just a minute. Let me get in Mr. Arima Sundaram. Mr. Arima Sundaram, isn't, as you said, it time for a time-bound probe? 3 months. After all, this BJP government has also been in power for 3 years. Its own members in the Public Accounts Committee, its own member who is an advocate who's filed the public interest litigation. Should the BJP continue to use it as a sword to dangle over the Congress's head as a matter that should be raked up only from election to election? Or should there really be closure in this entire investigation?
You know, that is the entire worrying matter in this, Navika. I believe that if an investigation can linger on for 31 years through various governments, obviously for much of the time with a government which may not have wanted the investigation to progress. But what is shocking is that in this country, it is capable to stonewall an investigation for 31 years. We are capable of stonewalling an investigation where the entire media attention is there, the public attention is there, the international attention is there. Even then, you can stonewall an investigation for 31 years. And if something is not done about it right now, immediately, one will start wondering whether the government today is not just keeping it as an election ploy and itself doesn't want to bury this very useful tool which can be used in an election. I'm sure that is not the case, and I hope we will not be belied and the government will do something about it.
Well,
and
Mr.
not
Ghanshyam
make us all
Tiwari,
feel it's
Mr.
just
Ghanshyam
that in the
Tiwari,
cupboard to
are
be
you
used as an
also...
election
May I
plan.
make a small intervention, very small intervention?
I have to get in Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, who was
Navika,
raising
very
his
small
hand.
intervention
Ratan
if you
Chadha,
allow.
I'll come back to you. Ghanshyam Tiwari,
Okay.
Mulayam Singh
Just
has
give me
been
30
an
seconds after
equal,
that.
has been
Okay.
an equal partner in this entire cover-up. What was the ulterior motive? Only politics? Or do you think your politics in the 1990s changed so much in the 2000s that you have absolutely no link between your politics then and politics now? 30 seconds.
Well, more than that question, what Ariman Sundaram said and what General G.D. Bakshi said makes most sense. What Sambit Patra said that it took them 6 years to file the charge sheet is absolute nonsense. As far as what Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav has said, he also said that he does not indulge in vendetta politics.
Do you know the date
and
of the charge sheet? 22nd October 1999, the first charge sheet was filed.
31 years has taken.
22nd October 1999, the first charge sheet was filed on that date.
There has been later.
You don't do your homework and come for the debate. That is not my headache.
All right.
Come prepared next time for a debate.
Is saying makes
Gentlemen,
no sense.
as much as I want to extend this debate, I'm completely out of time. But the question is, and that's the moot point tonight that Arima Sundaram has raised. Mr. Arima Sundaram says there should be a 3-month time-bound investigation and the CBI should submit its entire case to the government and to the Supreme Court within the next 3 months. Otherwise, it will only remain a case of convenient politics between the BJP and the Congress party. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me here on debate number 1 tonight.